My name is Hussain Saifuddin and I am the head of IT for Emrill. I've been in IT for over 16 years in various roles. I've been lucky enough to see Emrill journey from a relatively new company to becoming a tier 1 FM provider in UAE. Working alongside the team as a consultant and now leading the IT department. Emrill seeks out for innovation all the time. It's not only the IoT. We have always looked at IoT, AI, blockchain, all the technologies. We are quite agile depending on the requirements, mainly from the client or from the operations. We actually look at what is useful to them. So when it triggered first, mainly it was to innovate. First was the requirement, then understanding that with this information, what you get from an IoT, what all manual processes can be improved. So that was one of the triggering point. Another triggering point was preventive maintenance in terms of identifying that if we would have done this ourselves via IoT is better, or we do it by a human is better. We have identified there are areas where human involvement is required. So we have not just used IoT for sake of using an IoT. It's more of, okay, the use case is relevant to IoT. Yes, that's where Emrill has used the IoT. There's no percentage to it, I would say, where how far has been implemented. Yes, we can say almost multiple systems which we serve as an organization to the customer has been IoTized. So one of the major implementations which we did is with the pumping stations, and also we have done it with the lighting systems, which I have explained it earlier. So what IoT behind that is we actually check that the lights are working. So that's one element of an IoT, but we extended this to a location tracking as well. So when we do the maintenance of that particular area or when we visualize that information, what we check is that particular person is also there to do the maintenance. For example, we have fixed the light and after that there was a situation and the light got broken again. So when we reach to that element, the IoT, the sensors actually pass the event to our management system saying X person has arrived at this time and he fixed it. So there is a before photo, after photo, all those checklists is being actually managed in that application. I would just highlight the major ones. One of them is like optimization of a manpower, so right, and then reduction of the waste. Act quickly, that's one of the important part, and more I would say emphasize on the visibility. Some of the key challenges which I would like to highlight is it's more of, when implementing the IoT, it's the implementation, the business case, the scenarios to gather the requirements. Those are the challenges of IoT. Implementing is easy. You install the sensors, you configure the methodology, it's probably easy. The major part is what you need from the information behind, the methodology behind, the logic of those binaries which you wanted to read. These are the primary challenges which we faced when we had IoT implementation. The tackling of challenges was not only by implementing the solution best, it was more of communication, trainings, making awareness. We implemented the ERP in Emrill last 2 years back. Then What we checked is, now once the ERP is completed, what other elements are required to feed the information to that ERP system. And that's where we have connected the dots with silo applications, internal apps, third-party apps, IoT, integrating the framework with the dashboards, using the BI tools. All this is then being frameworked in one application. It's all connected back, the information is back connected into one core system, because eventually it needs, two are the major systems for facility management. One of them is the backend systems, which can be an ERP or your customer engagement softwares. The other things are work order management, the technician apps, the knowledge apps, training apps. All those apps are then connecting to our workforce to get those knowledge and the awareness. I mean, no company can work without having multiple systems. But if you ask specifically from a work order management system, is one of the major area for a facility management system. Why work order management system? Because the facility management is mainly based on tasks, checklists. I mean, heavy checklist. You cannot do a maintenance of a pumping just with a screwdriver. You really need that instruction sets, that manuals, which is actually being only fed by the right work order management system. Now, again, a work order management system needs to be flexible as well, because clients are different. As I said, I think in the beginning, Emrill serves multiple sectors. We are very conscious about the health and safety, the risk assessments. So Emrill does not just do the work for the sake of completing the job. We make sure the job is safe. We make sure there is no risk before starting the job. So all those parameters are actually being set up in the work order management system. And that's one of the reasons I think I've selected work order management system. The most important thing, I would say, what we are focusing now from our digital landscaping perspective, because being in IT, we have quite a bit of internal apps developed in our systems. But what we are actually looking at now, the next steps is to go for a low code, no code kind of an approach, where we are giving an empowerment to our operations team, site teams who want to run or get their applications developed by themselves. There are lots of technical people in our business who actually understands IT very well. They actually can write some applications. So we are trying to give them a secure environment which is controlled and managed by IT framework, and they can actually develop their apps without having any dependencies with IT. So I think that's where we are heading towards now. I mean, traditionally, yes, IT was always been a cost center or a support function, whereas now the trend has been changing, where people are realizing that IT is more of an investment for the future. I mean, being an Emrill, I would say Emrill was always been advanced in it. They have always been taken as an investment rather than a cost center or an expense. And why that is? Because it's more of, we always look for the data behind. So, and the data which you get from the technology is a proven data. It's an organized information that helps to give you the firm decision. It helps you to provide an accurate information to your client or a customer. Without other departments, IT technically cannot work, as you rightly, I think, mentioned. Yes, we can work for infrastructure side, we can work for all other sides of it, but from a functional perspective, it's very much required that these two departments connect each other. How we normally do this and how we overcome these challenges, we always bring the champions from the department. If, for example, if I am looking to implement an ERP solution, I make sure that I have a one person from finance, one person from procurement, one person from HR, and they all are connected. They all talk each other, and that's the only way you can overcome these challenges. I was always been a data analytical guy. My studies were being on the same, and then I got into this finance as well, so that I picked up the studies of finance in correlation with the IT. In my experience of this many years, what I have done from the beginning of my journey is delivering training, making more team members, partners. So I do end up getting into a trainings. What I learned from those trainings is actually I have identified that when they ask the question, if I don't have that, so I get that passion back to get the answer. So that's something which has actually taken me up to this. So I was started with my career from an application, and I had ended up learning communication, infrastructure, and now I'm managing the whole in Emrill. In IT, when you choose this profession, you need patience, because the amount of change, the amount of learning, the dedication you require in this profession is my suggestion. If you do not have that passion to learn, to seek the information, to seek the knowledge, then I would say it becomes a very difficult in long term. But yes, I would say my advice to everyone is the profession is good if you have that power of learning.